All right, here's a pair of sunglasses if you need them.
Oh, nice. Oh, hey.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
You can clearly see them on the back of your shirt. Reminds me of me trying to do, fun little magic tricks with kids at youth group. And I was so bad at it. The kid be like, what are you talking about? Alex has got the thing over there. Like, okay, yeah, fine. All right. Good job, kid. You win.
Welcome to Table Talk, the show about beer, board games, and everything else. My nose itches.
And mine does too. And I'm also Alex, and that's Rich. And this episode, the final episode of the month, will be once again about beaches for the final time.
Yep, sorry, my nose really did itch. But yes, my name is Rich. Thank you, Alex, for covering for me. And yeah, we're talking about beaches. If you didn't get a chance to check out episodes 1, 2, and 3, there's a nice little link up there in the corner. Go ahead and check those out. Starting with episode 1, where we paired Sun, Sea, and Sand, worker placement board game, with some Kona beer. And then episode 2, where we talked about beach life not beach life. Episode 3 was beach life, where we talked about life on the beach. Episode 2 was just kind of beach going activities and getting familiar with our beach going routines. And then today's episode, we're gonna talk about the beaches of the world and just kind of cover the world, every single beach that exists, and we're gonna go through it one by one. Just go through a few details for you. Just rate them 1 through about 10,000. Sound good to you, Alex?
Sounds great.
Might take some time.
Yeah.
You got some time to go through each and every beach in the world together?
Yep, I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay, cool. Let's do
it. And go.
Alphabetically. No, we're not going to name every beach in the world, but we're just going to kind of compare beaches and just kind of share some information. So just some stuff that maybe we came across in some research or just from our personal experience. So first and foremost, we do need to talk about our beer. Alex, what are you drinking with our beach conversation today?
I'll be continuing to drink the lovely Heller High Watermelon beer from 21st Amendment Brewery, which is based in California, San Leandro. And this is a wheat beer. It is also brewed with watermelons, and it is a seasonal release. As you can see, you have the lovely Golden Gate Bridge being enjoyed as a seating spot for the Statue of Liberty. So she's
right. It's like a little swing for her.
Yeah. Also, the watermelons are on the barge, which I think is kind of fun.
I think they got enough, don't you?
So too. I think so too. So yeah, it is a very pleasant summer drink to have, and one that specifically comes out during the summer. I was introduced to it several years ago, and it remains one of my favorites for this time of year.
Such a great name too, Heller High Watermelon. I like it.
Yeah.
I am drinking. Like I said, we both had Kona beers for episode 1 and 2. We're switching it up for episodes 3 and 4. I've been drinking Leinenkugel's Summer Shandy, which is hopefully a go-to summer beer for a lot of people across the United States, across the world. Hopefully, it's a great summer beer. Got a strong lemony flavor to it. It is a Weiss beer if you're interested. About 4.2 alcohol percentage, and it is 6 generations of family brewing tradition, all packed into one little bottle out of Wisconsin. So thank you very much, Leinenkugels, for providing my beer for episode 4. And Alex, if you're ready, let's dive into some beach conversation of beaches around the world. Are you ready? Are you ready for this?
Ready.
Dun, 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 dun. Cheers.
Cheers.
Beaches across the world. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with beaches where you live and beaches where I live, and possibly beaches where in other places where we've dwelled as residents before?
That sounds great. Let's start with the familiar.
Yeah. So I mean, I've talked a little bit about beaches here in Michigan, which is, I believe it's called the Third Coast. I think we called it the Fourth Coast before. I don't know which one it is, but it's either the third or fourth coast. But Lake Michigan and the lakes kind of surrounding Michigan. I know Lake Michigan very well. I know I know beaches around Lake Michigan,
Hmm.
um, and it's a very different vibe from East Coast.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's usually the beaches around here, as far as population wise, are usually a little bit more crowded unless you have some type of private access or something. Um, and just because there's not as much space to work with, whereas the East Coast, you have you have a whole you have a whole ocean's worth of coast to kind of work with. We have less square footage, so they tend to be a little bit more crowded. But the water, I prefer lake water over the ocean water.
Hmm.
But yeah, what's your experience out there in North Carolina
I mean,
and Topsail and all that?
yeah, it was mostly growing up. It was mostly Topsail Beach, which is in the southern area of the state, near the city of Wilmington, which is the largest east coast side of North Carolina, largest city there. It was
Hmm.
about 40 minutes north of there. So Topsail is fairly unpopulated as a permanent residence area. It tends to be a summer town. There were several beaches that also exist in Virginia, but it's closer tied to the southern end of the state and or the eastern shore, which is also pretty unpopulated, comparatively speaking, to say Jersey Shore or Rehoboth Beach in Delaware. I also had some experience in living at the beach. Actually, one of the places I lived was Venice Beach in California. I lived there for about 3 or 4 years, three years of my life, about 3 years, and I lived there. It was a few years removed from college, and I lived there when I lived in LA for about 6, and about half of it was spent at Venice Beach. I was approximately a block from the beach walk, and then a quarter miles walk from the shore. So
Nice.
I could touch the Pacific Ocean if I just felt like it. I just walk
Yeah.
over and
Yeah.
dip my
Yeah.
toe in and then come back. Um,
Touched it.
so I'll probably never have that kind of beachfront again in my life. I'm guessing
Mm-hmm.
not anyway. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
that was really nice. And then obviously you and I have done this before together, but we've also had some beach experience in New York City, which actually has some pretty prominent beachfront on the
Mm-hmm.
southern end of the city, closer to where Queens and or yeah, there you go, Rockaway Beach. So a lot of that is tied to the kind of the southern edge of Queens, where you eventually will actually hit the Atlantic Ocean, and
Mm-hmm.
then there's Coney Island, which is in between the Rockaways and where Brooklyn is. And Coney Island is neither; it's not an island, but however, it is connected to the borough of Brooklyn, and is pretty
Yeah,
famous
it's
for
not,
all
is
the
it?
amusement park. No, it's not.
Just thought about that.
But
Huh.
Coney Island is pretty famous for the roller coasters and the amusement parks, which is interesting because the amusement park is actually in the town. It's not actually separated the way you would have Busch Gardens or any number of these other places. Like it's directly attached to the town of Coney Island, which is very interesting to me. And I always had
There's
wanted
not a
to.
lot of real estate to work with. So
Well,
it's like
not no,
it all
not
kind of
directly.
has to be piled on top of each other.
Not directly, but there's some big multi-residential homes that are there, like apartments that are,
Yeah.
15 to 20 stories tall, surprisingly large. I wasn't expecting that until I went down there. And the thing that always got me was knowing that you could spend all day there in the summer. If you acknowledge that it's kind of kitschy in some senses, it can actually be a lot of fun. And my brother and
Hmm.
I had always wanted to, because he lives in New Jersey currently, and when I lived in New York, we were kind of toying around with the idea. It would be actually kind of fun to, take 40, $50 and just say, okay, today this is the money I'm saving. I'm going to spend it on this thing specifically to have that experience. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, the pandemic happened. We never got to do it, but it's a interesting place. So those are predominantly my beach experiences: California, North Carolina, New York. I think one of my favorite things too about beaches is that there are very particular things that I enjoy doing at the beach exclusively that don't necessarily have to do with the beach itself. Like it obviously there's things to do at the beach, there's go swimming or whatever.
Right.
But I'm
Right.
talking more like there's very specific things I will eat, things I will do,
Mm.
or traditional things that we try doing, especially the Topsail where we go.
Okay.
Or like one new thing that we've done for the past, I don't know, probably 4 years, 3 or 4 years now, or I guess 3 years. They replaced the bridge for the first time in 50, 60 years, where they used to have a cool swivel bridge that would, anytime like a boat or something would go through and then go the other way.
Oh, yeah.
So the new type of bridge, they just essentially did a long upward one where it was tall enough for any of the boats that would go underneath the coastal line or the intercoastal waterway to be able to go through
Right.
there. And they were smart in that they had the bridge have a pedestrian lane/bike lane that actually let you go over, and it actually has the best view of the island is on the zenith of the bridge, where you can look and you have this cool 360 view that just didn't exist before.
Right.
So now we have this tradition. Well, we'll bring our bikes, and at least once during that week, myself, my dad, Caroline, and whoever, and I guess my brother last year, and basically whoever wants to come and bring their bikes, we will go to the bridge. It's about a 5-mile journey each way, and then we go to the top of the bridge. We go back, and then there's this donut place called the Fractured Prune, and they have homemade donuts, and it's so good. And then we have donuts for breakfast and coffee, and then we bike the rest of the way back to our place.
Okay, hold on. So you bike 5 miles uphill.
No. It's not uphill. It's all flat. It's an island. It's a flat island for 5 miles, and then you go
use
up
the word
bridge.
zenith. I assume.
Sorry, the zenith of the
means-
bridge. The zenith of the bridge, not the island. The island is essentially flat. It's like.
Well, but right, but okay. So the bridge itself is much smaller than I'm imagining. Then I was expecting the bridge.
Yeah, it's not a
to be
5 mile long
bigger.
bridge. Sorry, I
Gotcha.
that was incorrect how I said that. So you
No,
bike
you're
for
fine.
5
I just want to
miles.
make sure.
Yeah,
I'm. It's not 5 miles uphill and then 5 miles
Correct.
downhill.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, because I was like, if we do get a chance to visit, I want to be able to participate. And as much of a biker and athlete as I am, 5 miles uphill. Like I remember biking across. We did the biking trip from up into the Bronx, crossing. Which bridge did we cross? We crossed a couple bridges.
Oh yeah, that bridge. That one was tough though. That was a tough bridge, especially
Man.
going back from the Bronx and going uphill.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
a
yeah.
long way up.
Yeah, you don't really realize the anatomy of bridges until you're biking them, and you're like, oh, yeah, half of this is uphill, all the way,
Bridges.
consistently.
So yeah,
Yeah.
no, this bridge specifically at Topsail is built for access for activity like that. So it was
Gotcha.
a really fun way to, and we still do it. I'll be bringing the bikes with me when we drive there, and we'll go, which is great because from Raleigh to from Raleigh to Topsail Beach, North Carolina, is about 3 hours, a little less, and that's it.
There you go.
It's a much more efficient way to get there, which is fantastic.
Nice. Well, that sounds awesome. It honestly does. The more you talk about going to the beach, the more I want to go to the beach. So maybe that's what I'm missing. Maybe
I
I'm
think-
just missing
Yeah.
missing that level of involvement with beach going, right?
I think there's a certain level of like going to the beach is going like to a concert of a band that you're not a particular fan of, but you go anyway because someone is going and they're like, hey, come, you got a free
Right.
ticket.
Yeah.
I've always had this thought about like YouTube or Coldplay where it's like, look, neither of them are my favorite band. However, I think the more I interact with people who are really big fans of them and say, if I were to go to a concert, one of my dreams is to go to one of them for a concert before they end their tour or whatever.
Right.
Is to go because there's a certain sense of like, oh, if you surround yourself with people that value the excitement of that particular thing, you can't
Right.
help but be in
Kind
some
of
ways
sucked into
yeah,
it.
you
Yeah.
can take it. You can take it with
Yeah.
it, take it into it.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important part about beach going is that it's not just like there's certain beach going that to me it's kind of like it's more like kind of beach like lazing about where it's like you're not really doing it's like you're basically sitting on your couch but replace
Mhm.
the couch with the outdoors and then
Yeah.
there's that kind of beach going
Yeah.
where the beach going that I enjoy tends to have a rhythm of like during this point in time during the day it's pretty loose but
Yeah.
if we were to do this thing, it's usually around the morning time. Okay, and then if we do this thing, it's going to be around in the afternoon.
Yeah, like a list of activities to kind of pull from, and then fill
Right.
fill the void
And you just
as you
kinda,
will.
yeah, it's kind of like jazz, where it's like you have a key, you have a sort of
Beach
rhythm.
jazz.
Yeah, but then you kind of just improv it a little bit. And that's
Yeah.
the thing that I love about the beach. And I mean, heck, if you even look at the way the ecosystems work of the seashore, is that it's constant adaptation because you
Yeah,
have low
it's
tides and
rhythm.
high tides. So you got this
Yep.
rhythm thing. So if I think once you learn to embrace the rhythm of the
Mhm.
ocean itself, and you realize that all this stuff is working in a rhythm, and it's not necessarily in your control, but it's more just you being kind of accepting of like, okay, we're going to do this thing, and then maybe do this thing, and then maybe do this thing, and then maybe do this thing. But it's not doing the same thing all the time, but it gives
Yeah.
you that ability to kind of, all right, I'm going to be flexible a little bit about this, which is also the reason why I love just having multiple activities. Board games are perfect for the beach because there's some
Mhm.
days that are just too dang hot, or it's late at night, and you know that if you were to go outside, you'd be eaten alive. So it's like, okay, what are we going to do? Well, let's hang out with the family.
Yep.
Let's play some board games. Let's have a good
Run
time.
into those beach mice and those
Oh yeah, and
those,
the mosquito scallywags, even though
those
that
false crabs.
false crabs and scallywags. Yep, exactly.
False crabs and scallywags.
Sounds like a great.
We should write a book.
Sounds like a great brewery. False crabs and scallywags.
False crabs and scallywags.
Uh,
Okay. Well, we've talked about dunes. We've talked about tides. Let's get into dunes and tides and
Frank
why. And what?
Frank
Herbert?
Dune. Never mind. Literature reference. For those that know.
Thank you.
you
Yes,
know.
thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dune. So I looked into dunes because I've always been interested in dunes and why they exist. Beach dunes specifically, because technically you have like sand dunes and like the Sahara Desert and stuff like that. Those are different dunes. We're talking about the beach. This is the beach episode, not the desert episode. We'll talk about desert dunes in the desert episode. We're talking about beaches. Okay. So if you don't know, some beaches have dunes. And if you don't know what dunes are, I'm about to tell you. Okay? So wait for it. Dunes are landforms that occur when there is a sufficient supply of sand or sediment and strong enough wind to promote sediment transport, and often some type of an obstacle, vegetation being the most common, that allows the blown sand to accumulate. In many instances, healthy dune systems rely on the presence of a healthy and extensive root system from dune grasses and other vegetation to maintain their shape.
That's
There
cool.
you go.
Dunes
So
are.
if you
Go
ever
ahead.
wonder what that big pile of sand is next to the beach, that is a dune.
That's interesting. I know that in certain places, I know Topsail is one of them because of the barrier islands are a really fragile ecosystem. The joke is that they're glorified sandbars is the barrier islands, in that they're maybe, I don't know, 15 feet above sea level, maybe, to where there's really not much grace given if it gets pummeled by a hurricane or a big storm. And dunes, like you can be fined, I think, close to $2,000 or something if you start playing around in dunes just willy nilly. Like there's certain
Yeah.
access points where obviously you can walk through because they have, all right, this is the designated public access.
Right.
But I think there is that notion, and I mean, you and I have talked about this plenty of times in different episodes, is that there is some acknowledgement that you have to give a certain area of sure, this is someone's private property, but dunes don't know that. Like you
Right.
have to understand, like the whole beach is a system. It's not just like, oh well,
Right.
this is my 0.5 acres, so therefore this is all that matters. And I think dunes is a really exceptional way of looking at it because you can run into some big problems in some of these beaches if dunes get ruined. Because like you said, like
Mhm.
that's the border, like that's the buffer from the water.
And they're kind of just dangerous in and of themselves.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
not too long ago, a boy named Nathan Wozenfer fell into a hole at Mount Baldy is where it happened.
Okay.
Is a popular dune at the Indiana Dunes National Lakeshore. He was buried for 3 hours under 11 feet of sand.
Gosh.
Yeah. So incredibly, he survived and recovered. Left the hospital after 2 weeks. He spent 3.5 hours trapped in the sand and was taken to the hospital in critical condition at Comer Children's Hospital. He was breathing with a ventilator for a week. So the
Ooh.
researchers have since determined that those mysterious holes, so they found a whole bunch of these. They went out into the dunes and they found all of these sinkholes, right? So researchers have since determined that those mysterious holes in the dunes are caused by trees that have been buried in the sand and have left hollow tubes behind as they decayed. So you have a tree.
Huh.
The sand comes up, buries the tree, right? So the trunk of the tree dies and decays and falls away. And then you just have the sand. And the top of the tree just falls over and decays or blows away or whatever. So you have sand and this 11-foot hole, 11-foot hole underneath. There's just empty tube, and somebody comes along and walks and just goes
Falls
right
in.
down into it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That to me reminds me of stories I remember hearing about in Florida, because the base of Florida, like the state, is essentially on limestone, and how geologically, so the presuming kind of understood science of it is the fact that however many millions of years, it was essentially Florida was a coral reef underwater. So it was just this very almost chalky kind of substance of these old limestone. So every now and again you'll hear the news of like house consumed by sinkhole, disappears, and it just and it goes underneath,
falls in,
and you forget that, like, oh yeah, like not
mm-hmm.
we can build stuff, or we can do these things and just assume it's going to be the same thing as in Minnesota as it would be in Oklahoma or Florida. Like, you do these certain things, you realize, oh yeah, like certain places are definitely designed differently ecologically, that you have to at least understand. And I'm glad you're pointing about the dune thing, because guys, do not play in dunes. It can be expensive if you get fined, and it's also very important for the ecological system. Well, like Rich said, there also could be rotting trees inside, and you don't want to fall in.
Death by dead tree. That's not a good way to go, guys.
Trees last, yeah. Don't do that. And then you don't really want to hang out in dune all that long anyway, because there's not much to do down there, and it's sandy and it's rough and coarse, and it gets everywhere. It's just sad.
Dune, dune, dune,
dune, dune.
I was also looking at some of the longest beaches in the world.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, so there's two different categories. There's the longest natural beach, and then the longest kind of forced beach, forced beachfront that they kind of made into a beachfront. So you have the longest. We'll start with the longest natural beach, which is Cox's Bazar Beach, located at Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh. It's the longest natural sea beach in the world, running 93 miles. Yeah, the third longest beach after 90 Mile Beach of Australia and the Casino Beach of Brazil, so Casino Beach of Brazil is the longest beach, but it's not a natural beach. At least not all of it is. Casino Beach is in the southernmost part of Brazil, the Brazilian coast, on the South Atlantic Ocean in the state of Rio Grande do Sul. It is the longest uninterrupted sandy seashore in the world, with various sources measuring it from 132 miles to 158 miles. So if you ever want to visit the longest beaches in the world, either go to Bangladesh or Brazil.
Which is fascinating, because especially Bangladesh, like, when, at least as a Westerner whose predominant thoughts of beaches is California, Italy, maybe France, maybe Morocco. Like those are the ones that come to mind. I don't think of, like, if I think
Bangladesh.
I don't think of Bangladesh. So I have another question for you about beach kind of going trivia.
Yeah, go ahead.
How much of the world's surface is covered by water?
I believe the accepted percentage is 70%, right? 75? 70? 70.
What I'm reading right now is approximately 71%. So I guess it's all the icebergs breaking off in Antarctica. Oh, more beach right there. More.
That statistic has changed.
Yeah. The only things that are happy about it are the penguins because they get more beachfront. All right. So I know that we talked about beach going becoming popular during the British Revolution, right? During that time in England. Do you know why it became popular?
Why, like, recreational beach going became popular?
Why did it become popular then, specifically? Do you know why?
What year are we talking? Like, what year range are we talking about? 18...
British Industrial Revolution, which I would assume is approximately like early 1800s, maybe a little before, but around 1800s time.
Maybe because like inner city was getting, I don't know, pollution or something, like people just wanted to get away from like the machinery of the inner city.
You're not far off. Yeah, doctors were actually prescribing. Yeah, they thought it was it could help. What I'm reading here, doctors believe beach waves could help treat black bile built up in people's spleens, which they later found out.
Bile?
I had no idea. Which
is that a thing?
Well, this is the added little thing footnote. Okay. Could help treat black bile built up in people's spleens, which they later found out isn't a thing. I wonder what are the things I wonder what are the things that we think are a thing now that we'll realize later, like, nah, we shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
And my other trivia point, surfing. Do you know where it was invented?
Hawaii.
Very good.
Yeah.
Do you know why it was invented in Hawaii?
Was it a hunting technique?
I don't know. I actually don't know the answer to that. I was just very curious.
I don't know either. It wouldn't. I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if it was like started out as like a hunting technique or something that they could like chase something down, but that wouldn't make much sense. You're kind of limited. If something's going this direction really fast, then we can catch them.
Here we go. Wouldn't it have been a thrill though to have been the first group of people to figure out how to surf? That would have been crazy.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's kind of like the cave painting, like you were talking about, right? Like I think people probably just thought that person was just a little crazy. It's like it takes that person like doing that, and then they die, and then like their ancestors are like, oh, so and so did this one time, and then they just kind of do it like to be rebellious or ironic, and then it's like, no, now it's a thing.
I could see it could be like Gramps, you know. Oh, remember old Gramps? Yeah, he had that board thing. Yeah, but my parents never liked that he did it, and you know, then he got taken out by that shark, and it's always been sitting in the back of the house. Maybe we should dust it off and figure out what to do with it. And then I'll have some
just to spite our parents.
We'll have a long written letter, testimonial video, and then an instructional manual, and then you'll be able to plug it in, and a hologram pops up.
Lay
and then
down.
You figure out an energy source, and then Tony Stark gets the. Sorry, I'm going a little far here.
Unobtainium.
So, all right. And then last but not least, I want to. I don't know why this was a thing that I found on a trivia piece about the beach, but I want to tell it to you. Okay. Do you know how much SPF equivalent a white cotton shirt is?
7.
Are you looking at the same thing I'm looking at? Did you look up the same research?
Am I right?
You are right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Well done.
Yeah, I found that little piece of trivia as well.
All right. That's very entertaining. Whoever figured that out is an all-star.
Do you know how much a long sleeve black shirt is as far as SPF is concerned?
I would assume like SPF 20.
It's SPF 1700.
Wow.
A long sleeve black shirt is virtually sunproof.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, so the key then will be.
Oh, sorry. A dark long sleeve denim shirt can provide UPF of about 1700.
Here's the problem: is that the comfort level of wearing a black denim long sleeve is like the equivalent of wearing lead. I mean, it's just not comfortable at all.
You won't get sunburnt. You will not have a good time.
You will not have a good time.
No.
So I wonder what the trick of that is, because I feel like, I mean, obviously, I would assume this has a little more protection kind of thing, and it's, I don't know what this is made of.
Well,
but
it's color, right? So black absorbs all light, right?
I think
so. If what you're wearing is absorbing all of the light, then it's not going to hit your skin.
Oh, I got it. Whereas the white color doesn't do as good a job of that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You're going to be hotter in a long sleeve black denim shirt. Obviously. Will you get sunburnt? No. Will you be cooler in a short sleeve white shirt? Yes. Will you get sunburnt? Most likely.
Yes. And again, here's the notion of like how to have the beach be more fun is knowing good times to go to certain places. Like the probably the best bet in terms of beach going is going to be before, I think they say it's before 11 a.m. and after 3 p.m. Anytime in between is when the sun is up and, you know, bearing down and said you'll die. No, Rich, we're not in the Sahara. Like, you're not going to just die. Like, this is,
sorry, I misinterpreted that.
Yes,
sorry.
yes. I'm just saying it'll get hot. But it's just knowing. I mean, it's knowing the time. You know, there's certain things that you can do at certain times to be more fun, and some of that is like
be more comfortable.
It'll be a little more comfortable.
Yeah.
Then you can stay out longer. Like if you go out at noon to 1, you're gonna get cooked. I mean, that's just egg on a pan situation. It's just not gonna turn out well.
Yeah, Alex, I'll make sure to bring we should do an experiment when we come to visit and we'll go out to the beach together. I'll bring my long sleeve black denim shirt.
Well, yeah, if you're going to do that case, do the whole like Dr. Grant outfit. I mean, he goes all denim. Like if you look at Dr. Grant, he does like all denim.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Nothing like 90s all denim.
Yeah, he must have been really hot, but not sunburnt.
Nope. Yeah, you could. Yeah, Montana, no problem. All right, so I have another trivia fact for you because this is one of my favorites. What is in what region of the world has the highest tide variation, and what is that tide variation in feet?
I would say Bay of Fundy, Nova Scotia, about 56 feet.
Well, at least we're both doing our research. This is good. I have it listed as 52 feet, so therefore you're wrong.
Okay.
But you are correct in that it's Bay of Fundy. Here's an interesting thing that I learned.
Sorry, this is so funny. We've never done this before.
No, we've never.
We both literally looked up the same exact information.
This is great. We're relatable. We think in similar viewpoints, I guess. So my parents on, it was their honeymoon. They road tripped from the East Coast along the East Coast, Mid-Atlantic area, and they went all the way up to Canada, eventually Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, and that kind of thing.
Oh, really? Okay.
It was like I think it was like 2-3 week long road trip kind of thing. And
did they go to Bay of Fundy?
They did. And
nice.
The crazy thing is, and I didn't know this, is that in the Bay of Fundy, when you go, there are ladders that you can, or not ladders, but steps. Yeah.
Okay.
Good luck. And it's like the orcs in Two Towers. You have to and there's people
Legolas is up there just like,
well, there's people on top, pushing the ladders down. Stay back, tourists. It's a one-way trip. No, but when you go down these ladders or the steps and you're hanging around, they actually have warning bells that go off when the high tide is coming in, and it's kind of this isn't a suggestion. Like if you don't move quickly, like within 10 minutes, the tide becomes to come in, and apparently it sounds like a roaring jet plane when it comes in. like
Really?
because it's filling up all the cavities of the rocks and the and everything as it kind of comes in. And yeah, you forget
Yeah.
that like water has sound, like it's when
Yeah.
not just like waves. Yeah, Bay of Fundy, like that was apparently a crazy experience. I want to witness that before I die. I want to go up there
Yeah.
and see it.
And it increased. What would we say? 52 feet.
52 feet.
52 feet in 6 hours.
So
6 hours is all it takes.
and if you divide that, essentially, divide 52 by 6, that's almost 10 feet an hour, which is then
Right.
more than a foot every 10 minutes. Yeah.
You lost me.
I forget exactly how you could do it. So just think about
Yeah.
these seconds of how of in terms of like per minute how much the water rises. Like that is
Right.
something that where it's almost like watching plant grow in time lapse, where like you can actually
Yeah.
see it happen before
Yeah.
your eyes, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah. I had them ranked. So Bay of Fundy, Nova Scotia, it's measured in meters, so it's 12.9 meters. That's the sea level change from low tide to high tide. And they call that tidal ranges. So the tidal range is low tide to high tide. So these are the largest tidal ranges that we see, right? Bay of Fundy, Ungava Bay, Quebec, Canada. So go to Canada if you're interested in looking into this stuff. There's plenty of options there. Avonmouth, United Kingdom. That's about 12.3 meters. Grainville, France, 11.4 meters. Rio Gallegos, Argentina, 10.4 meters. And if you're looking for something in the U.S., Cook Inlet, Alaska. You still got to go to Alaska, but it's in the U.S. You can go 9.2 meters, which is still a lot.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
That kind of thing always boggles my mind to know that it all is because of the moon. I know we talked about this before, but
yeah,
it's
and
weird.
the sun,
and the
most
sun,
of the moon.
most of the moon. Like it's all because of that celestial body that's not even attached to the planet. Like it's pretty wild.
Yeah. And tides, I was looking into like if tides are different across the world or if they're pretty much the same. And the answer is kind of weird. They are pretty much the same except for around the UK. Like every pretty much, unless I'm reading this information wrong, and it's very possible it could be. You have basically, so different parts of the world experience different tidal regimes. Around the UK, there are mostly 2 tides and 2 high tides, 2 low tides each day. This is called a semi-diurnal regime.
Diurnal, probably.
Diurnal, yeah. Other parts of the world have a diurnal tidal regime with only 1 high tide and 1 low tide each day. So there's something about the UK that it has 2 high tides, 2 low tides every day.
I think I remember hearing
it's a very busy beach.
Yeah, I remember hearing that about New York City. Is I think it has something similar, which is why the Hudson is particularly dangerous to swim in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, where like people joke about it because of the pollution, and it's less about the pollution as it is. Like it's still not recommended, but it's much more about how churny the water is because of all the conflicting water movements, and of course the boat traffic as well doesn't help. But I think it's somewhere similar, but I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah. It is kind of weird. I mean, so if you're a frequent beach goer and you're used to kind of, moving up and moving down once a day, and then you go to the UK and then like you move down and you move up and you're like, hey, I'm done. Like I can sit here for the rest of the day. And then you wake up and there's a whole bunch of people around you kind of looking at you like you're a weirdo, and that's because you're sitting in about 3 foot of water. Don't say we didn't warn you. You should have watched your episode of Table Talk. You should have listened. We're here for your benefit.
Valuable life-saving advice here at Table Talk only.
Yep. And if you see a hermit crab while you're there, just yell at it. False crab.
False crab? What are you doing?
False crab. Be gone, false crab. Pretending to be a real crab.
I wanted to ask. I know we had this particular topic we wanted to talk about. This is a question with like pollution issues and stuff, because I know that a lot of times it kind of goes hand in hand. When you go to the beach, inevitably sees garbage or whatever that can sometimes
Yeah.
cigarette butts or I mean, one of the big issues
Right.
right now, kind of a hot button topic, is microplastics, which is something that
Mhm.
I did not know to the extent of this until I started doing research. I think it
Mhm.
was like last year, the year before, when I was starting to work for the farm in Brooklyn, because
Mhm.
naturally it's an environmental thing, so they talk about this stuff. Did you know that, like, essentially, I think they say within 10 years, microplastics will have become so prevalent in the ocean that, like,
Yeah.
it will eventually start, like, there's certain fish that they're finding it, like, ingesting, like, within the
Yeah.
stomach of fish, which is, like, it's boggling to me at
Yeah.
that, like, plastic isn't that old. Like, it's only been around since World War II. It's not that long.
Yeah. Yeah. I I try not to think about it, which I know is not the right solution.
Well,
um
I see your point, though. Yeah, I often wonder, because it is easy to be overwhelmed by it, and I think the thing is fascinating to me because, I mean, heck, COVID was a great example. Pollution in general. This is something people talk about a lot
right.
of times. Oh, we need to clean up the air. We need to do this. We need to do this. It was
Right.
fascinating to me to watch in a span of 3 weeks, in a matter of weeks, not months, weeks, when no one did anything, especially when during the lockdown, when everyone was kind of scared out of their wits and be like, well, we don't know what
Yeah.
this is. Does it transfer on services? Well, I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm going to work at home. I'm not going to work, or
Yeah.
whatever.
Right, right.
A couple of things that were notable to me that popped up. I think the first time in like 2 centuries, dolphins were seen swimming up the Venice
Yeah.
canals. That was
Yeah, yeah.
wild to hear
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
If you've looked at pictures of places like Los Angeles, notorious, at least in the United States, for kind of the brownish, kind of smudgy air that comes up a lot of
Mhm.
times from car pollution. Crystal clear,
Yeah.
blue
Right.
skies. You can see for miles. You can see the mountainscapes and all these different things. And it's interesting to me that there is a certain level of realizing, like, okay, one person by themselves can't make that much of a difference
Right.
usually. However,
Yeah.
in that one instance, everyone did that personal decision of, we're not going to do anything, and then all of a sudden it's just like things just
Yeah. Instant change.
instant change.
I think my only hands-on experience with this is shout out to Cressley, which is it's a whale research operating out of
Yeah,
Montauk.
it's the one that Andy worked with.
Yeah, Andy volunteered for them. So during the summer months, Andy and I would go whale watching. I would purchase a ticket just to help
envious.
support. Yeah, it was a great way to spend a weekend, spend a Saturday or a Sunday. Um, I would usually pay for a ticket just to kind of support the cause, and Andy volunteered, and I would ride along as a passenger and just kind of hang out. Which, if you have caught any of the previous episodes, is not necessarily something that I'm willing to do on a regular basis, but I actually did end up enjoying it a lot. But it is interesting because you get out there and yeah, you'll just be going out. You're enjoying the ocean. And kind of we go out into the Long Island Sound, which is the water between basically Long Island and like Connecticut, and then you start going out kind of to the water in between Long Island and Rhode Island and all that kind of stuff. And is Nantucket out there? I'm not sure. But
Nantucket,
anyway,
Martha's Vineyard. Yeah.
yeah. So, and then eventually you're kind of out into the ocean outside of Montauk. So you're just kind of rolling along, and then all of a sudden you kind of look out and you're like, "There's something shiny," and you look out and it's a balloon, and it's like we're miles, like
Yeah.
we are like the coast is like in the distance, like you can still kind of see it, but it's like this little mound on the horizon, and you just don't even realize. Like I didn't realize until that point. It's like, man, like balloons can travel, like they go.
Yeah, they go.
And I mean, I didn't see just one, and every time we passed one, I mean, God bless this guy, the guy that was leading it, Artie, I believe is his name. I wish I knew his last name. I'd give him another shout out, but he would he did the funniest thing, because everybody out there is whale watching, but they're also like, if anything else passes by, like we saw a sea turtle once, we saw a sunfish, which was pretty cool. But then like we're just going along, and we're kind of going out to the area where we think the whales are going to be, so we're not really there yet, so everybody's just kind of hanging out. And he goes, everybody look to your right, a deadly killer. And everybody just shoots up. Everybody's at the railing, and they're just like sitting there like looking left and right. And after I did the same thing the first time I did it, but then after a while I'm kind of like, okay, I know what's going on. And he would be like, it's a balloon. It's like, and he'd go through the statistics of like how many creatures swallow it and get entangled in it or whatever, and that it's one of the leading causes of death. And it's interesting. Not just balloons, obviously, but like just general trash, balloons specifically.
Right. I will say this for those of you guys in particular, when you go to the beach, some of the wherewithal, like I said before, there's no such thing as a bad day. There's only bad equipment. So be well equipped when you come.
Yep.
But take only pictures, leave only footprints, and that's a really good, I feel like, mentality to or shells. I mean, you can take shells, but
don't take shells. It's just snail poop, guys. Just leave it. It's all it is.
If you're rich, don't take shells. I say shells usually are fine. I think the key to understand too is knowing that like do it, double check sweep the area that you are at and double check.
Yeah.
Especially if you have like crinkly bags and things like that. Because obviously you don't want to attract gulls and other things because one, it just gets annoying. But two, it's just knowing that like, look, like this isn't none of this stuff can none of this stuff is digestible for any of them. Like one thing I started doing other than just try not to use straws in general, that if a straw came into my, use
purview,
purview, nice word choice, for whatever reason, I started literally like, and this may sound dorky and maybe too much, but like I took a scissor and would cut it sideways, horizontal, and then I would cut it into strips. Because there are certain animals that will accidentally swallow them, and it's like obviously straws are great and handy, but like it's obviously torture for an animal if they actually try to ingest that thing. So stuff like that. I mean, it's just practical things where it makes you feel a little more. It's taking ownership. I think that's it.
Yeah, and I think we live in a time frame where I don't know. Part of me wants to say that we're more aware of it and we're doing more, but I really don't know. And
I'd like to think we are.
Yeah. I'd like to think we are too. And obviously, don't take, oh man, I still, to this day, I don't really understand why it's acceptable to release balloons. And it's because of that experience, right? Because I'll still be at an event and people will just like let balloons go, and I'm like, what are we doing? It's like like, and you don't even need to be near the water. Like those things travel, like they go forever.
They go forever,
and they can end up, and it doesn't have to be in the ocean. They could land in a lake. They could land in a pond. They could land in a reservoir.
Yeah,
and there's still things living in there that do not need that in their ecosystem. they just don't. Like it just has no place in anywhere. It honestly, I mean, look. If you get me balloons for my birthday, I'm going to be happy. Thank you, I appreciate it. But I'll pop them and I'll throw them away. And like eventually they will die. They'll definitely not be taken outside, or definitely not be taken to the beach. So
it's always keeping the awareness that often the out of sight, out of mind mentality does tend to creep in our lives, in particular for that. And I think that's the tricky thing, in particular with balloons. But I think other things too. I mean, heck, single-use plastics cups, like that's an easy thing to remember. Or I'm sorry, it's an easy thing to forget that like once it's there, I think they said that like the life of a plastic cup is like, I don't know, some crazy high numbers, like 400 years or something like that. It's like bring a Yeti reusable mug or whatever for yourself that can go for however long, and knowing that like, okay, it's one less plastic cup. It's small victories.
Right.
That's all it is. Small victories.
Right. Before we go, I did want to mention, did you know that there are like different colored beaches?
So I saw briefly about that, and I know of like black sand beaches in I think Hawaii,
Yeah.
but other than that, I didn't know that there were other colors beyond the brownish, kind of general sandy hue that you would get.
Yeah. Yeah, so I specifically looked into black sand beaches and red sand beaches.
Red sand beaches, interesting.
Yeah, red sand beaches. There's even like pink and orange and different ones like that that
Okay.
are also very interesting. But just to narrow down the scope here, I focused on black sand beaches. So, if you are traveling abroad, and since this is our episode on beaches of the world, I do want to give you some advice. If you are going abroad and you're interested in going someplace very unique, instead of just the sandy shores of such and such where everybody else is going, seek out a black sand beach or a red sand beach. And if you do go to the black sand beach, make sure to wear your long sleeve black denim shirt.
Floating head.
You'll fit right in. You'll be very hot. You'll probably cook your insides, to be honest. 'Cause once you're on a black sand beach,
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you microwave beach. I thought that was just the black sand beach. No. Here's the denim shirt. Oh,
Yeah.
I understand.
Oh,
now.
I see the problem now.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a Sherlock episode where the guy is dead on the beach. We don't know what killed him. Sherlock walks up and is just like, well, he's wearing a black denim long sleeve shirt on a black sand beach. Yeah, he died of heat stroke. He was hot.
He wanted it to be a sauna,
Mystery
but
solved.
it worked a little too well for the
Yeah,
sauna.
he lost a lot of weight. Unfortunately, he also lost his life. So black sand comes from eroded volcanic material such as lava, basalt,
Basalt, I think. Basalt. Bless you.
Basalt rocks, and other dark colored rocks and minerals, and is typically found on beaches near volcanic activity. Black sand beaches are common in Hawaii, the Canary Islands, and the Aleutians.
Aleutian. Up in Alaska?
Aleutian. Sure. Yeah. I don't know. Are there volcanoes up there?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Cool.
A lot of basalt rocks up there as well. So yeah, if you're interested in doing something a little different, then I'd go to a black sand beach.
Heck yeah.
That would be worth it. That would be worth it to me. Like beach going. Like I'll go to a beach that like is black and like just unique in that way, and like you're walking on volcanic rock instead of just the typical brown sand beaches. There's also red sand beaches, like those that cover much of Prince Edward Island in Canada, including Cavendish Beach, derive their color from the iron-rich materials. When iron comes into contact with oxygen, it forms iron oxide, or what is more commonly known as
rust.
Exactly.
AKA all of Mars.
Exactly. Yep. So the oxidation leaves the minerals looking different shades of red, and is the same process at work in the red rust-covered, iron-rich dust on Mars. You're right.
So wait a minute. Does that mean that you shouldn't go swimming there? Because couldn't you get tetanus if you get an open wound?
Ooh, it's a good question. That's a good question.
I mean, obviously you get your tetanus shot, but like,
right? Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Yep. Another case of Sherlock where there's a dead body on the red beach, and a guy's trying to eat a sandwich, but he has lockjaw, and Sherlock comes up and says, "Oh well, he has tetanus because it's basically a beach of rust that he's trying to eat a sandwich in, and
needless to say,
an open wound on his foot.
That Rust Beach is slow going, which is bad. It's Sherlock Holmes and the beachgoers who are morons. Yes. Just don't go.
He just stops taking cases from black and red beach cases just because
or just any beach case. Eventually, he's just like, beach case. Oh, was it a murder? No, it was definitely the person. Definitely user error, regardless of where it is on the beach.
If you're interested in going to a red beach, I believe you can go. So a volcanic cinder cone, a simple single vent volcano, surrounds the Kihalalu Beach in Maui, supplying it with iron-rich minerals and thus red sand. Similarly, the iron-rich black and red lava rocks have produced the Kakini Beach, known as Red Sand Beach, nestled into the base of the nearby volcanic cliffs of Santorini, Greece. So you can go to Santorini, Greece if you want a red beach, go to Hawaii if you want a black beach, and go to Mars if you want red sand but no beach at all.
Not a single beach.
Or apparently, maybe, depending on what they find. We don't know yet.
I sort of hope they find that, like, the shrimp vendor food hut thing from Hawaii Five-0, like an old rusted out one, in Mars. Well, looks like there was a good time here once upon a time.
Yeah. Oh man! All right, we should close out with movies.
Oh yeah, I got some good ones.
Not too long here, but we got to stick to our movie theme.
Yep.
For the last episode, what type of beach movies did you have in mind?
So mine are not like luxurious beach movies, which I think is kind of funny. These are the ones that came up to my mind of not like, oh, we're having fun. Oh, actually,
right.
I'm gonna write this one down so we don't forget.
Okay.
Because I think we introduced y'all to this movie. First movie is Battle L.A., which I thought was funny that I actually remember that they have some beach invasion.
Okay.
It's not good. But they had they had a cool like beach invasion scene. It's supposed to be Los Angeles, and the funny thing is so the Santa Monica beach is really wide. Like, it's really wide. It's like almost half mile to a mile wide, just the sand, and most of it is poured. It's they extended it over time. And the funny thing in the movie, I was thinking, yeah, they didn't film it there. It's not wide enough. Like, it seemed to be very short. And the funny thing is that it was actually shot in Louisiana. So Battle LA is actually correct because that's the state abbreviation for Louisiana.
Louisiana,
so,
nice.
Another one, whose beach scene is, again, not calming at all for whatever reason. I thought is Saving Private Ryan, because I think that
nice. Yeah.
in particular is important for people to remember that, look, like, the piece of this beach came at the cost of the chaos of that one that happened.
Was that specifically Omaha Beach?
Yeah, Normandy.
Yeah, that was in Normandy. Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Classic beach going one is Jaws, the one that made everyone scared, and I felt bad for all the beach. So the story goes that when John Williams came up with that melody or theme, is that apparently Spielberg didn't like it because he's thinking, it's not watery. Like, what is this, John? And he said, no, just keep listening. Dun, 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 dun. And the more Spielberg heard it, the more he realized, it's almost like a Frankenstein feel of, like, it's coming, it's not stopping, it's coming after you, it's gonna get you.
Yeah.
And it's perfect. Like, I still think it's one of the greatest themes of all time.
Perfect
because it
is perfect.
It's perfect.
It's 2 notes, but it's perfect.
2 notes, and then that done, that third song, that third note that comes in.
Yeah.
The more fun summer one that I truly love, and I think it is a classic that often people have not seen it in the modern era, is The Way, Way Back, which is a comedy. It's a coming-of-age story. Stars this kid, high schooler, kind of dealing with kind of a Cape Cod summer and him coming of age, kind of growing up, but also meeting friends and adversaries along the way. It's good. It's a really good film and quite funny. The film that I'm looking forward to this summer is The Beach That Is Evil. It's old. That Shyamalan movie that's coming out, where these people go on the beach and then suddenly age really quickly. To me,
based off of the book, what?
Sandcastle.
What's the book? Sandcastle.
Yeah, which I have not read, but I think I'll always give Shyamalan a chance because of movies like Signs and Sixth Sense, which I still think are some of the best movies in the past 20 years. I could see this movie going in either really great direction, or that it goes in the way of The Happening, where it's just so stupid that people can't take it seriously. But I'm really hoping that it's good. I really hope it's good.
Good.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
How about you?
I also didn't have a lot of great beach experiences. Jaws was on my list, top of my list, actually. So Jaws was number 1 on my list. Right after that, I had Castaway.
Ooh, good choice.
So you had a different Tom Hanks movie, but
Yep.
I chose Castaway
I have a
he does
nerdy-
spend a lot of time.
I have a nerdy fact about Castaway that I learned. You want to hear about this?
Yeah, what's your nerdy fact?
So if you watch Castaway, and when he's on the island, you do not hear birds in the sound mix at all. And apparently, this was done on purpose.
Okay.
And I remember listening to this, I forget how many years ago, but it stuck out to me where the Zemeckis, the director, was talking about he wanted to make the whole like living next to the ocean as an unpleasant experience as possible. Because anytime you would think, oh yeah, he was stuck in the South Pacific, you'd be like, oh, this is great. You know, he's stuck in this island. It's not so bad. At least it's warm. You know, there's coconuts and crab. But then that's the whole notion of like, one of the ways to take away the pleasantness of it was to just take away all the bird sounds. But birds live there, but they on the island in actuality, but they took it all out in the mix.
They took it out.
So you can't hear it at all. Yeah. It's interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So they would pick it up probably when recording.
Yeah.
And they purposely took it out. It's not that they didn't add it to like the editing.
Correct.
Or something. That's weird. Okay. So yeah, Jaws, Castaway. Again, not great experiences. Another not great experience movie is Soul Surfer. Which is, again, a true story. A true person who went surfing one morning and got attacked by a shark and lost her arm. And then went back into surfing and became still very competitive even without the use of an arm. So, and then it starts to kind of pick up. It has a little bit of an upswing towards the end of my list with Blue Crush, which is kind of a soul, kind of like a surfing competition. Kind of documents, or it gives a good story to kind of the surfing world in Hawaii, basically. So it's it was a good movie. And then just as an honorable mention, I threw a Weekend at Bernie's in there. I don't know why. It makes me laugh. just the whole concept. Somebody had to go into a studio and pitch this idea of trying to animate a dead body for an entire movie. Two guys. Just makes me laugh.
Well, I hope everyone is able to enjoy a weekend at the beach alive and well.
Alive, yes.
Yeah. I wish you all very well. Personally speaking, what I'd also love to hear from all who are listening is that if you go to a beach, which beach do you go to?
Yeah. What are your beaches?
Do you have like rankings of like, okay, there's this one that's we think is really good, and this one that everybody talks about but isn't so great, that kind of thing. Because I know that beaches can almost be like beer preference, where it's like, some people prefer this, wheat beer over a pale ale or a stout or whatever it is. But there's so many varieties. It's fascinating to me is how many varieties there are, especially here in the States where you have 4 coastlines that you're working with. And be very curious if those who are listening. Let us know what you think.
Yeah,
and favorite beach movie too. If there's something more lighthearted you'd recommend besides war and death and plague and alien invasion for beach movies, definitely let us know too.
Thanks for hanging in there, guys, and tuning into our beach series this month. We're going to be back next month talking about God knows what, but we're going to be here doing it, and you're going to be here listening to us and watching us. So stay tuned for that. We'll have another topic set up for you next week. But guys, again, please like, subscribe, comment. We really want you to subscribe. I think we're gonna be having some affiliates join us here in the next series for next month. So we got some promotional stuff that we're gonna start dishing out. So we're kind of starting to legitimize just a little bit, just a wee bit. So we're looking forward to that. Nothing that's going to hinder the content at all. We're going to make sure of that. But we are going to start teaming up with some other entities here to start making this a legitimate podcast and a legitimate show. So obviously having more subscribers and more viewership here is going to help us do that. Helps us make the content that you are tuning into. So please help us out that way, guys. We will see you next week. Until then, guys,
be happy.
brew happy,
and
and
game
game
on.
on.
Mhm.
Cheers.
You know, I tell you what, though, there is nothing quite like at the end of a day, and the seagulls are crying and doing their thing as they go and land. It's really good. And then you're sitting down at the deck. The heat of the sun has dissipated, and you're watching the sun set over, in my case, the mainland. And you raise your
Mhm.
glass, and you turn to your friend, your brother, your father, your mother, whoever, and you go,
Mhm.
and that sound. And you take that drink of that beer. In my case, would be like some sort of light, summer beer.
Mhm.
Take a sip, you let it go, you swallow, you make that sound, and then you realize, in no other place on earth could this happen except for the beach, and that's why I love it. And you should too, Rich. My last ditch effort. Not
Oh,
convinced?
sorry. I fell asleep.
Oh,
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 what
no!
were you saying?